Welcome to Guys Talking Yoga. I'm your host, Derek Vanderwalker, and I know it's been a while. I've had a few things going on in my personal life that's taken some time to get back to the podcast. Currently today, up at Kripalu, I just completed a men's yoga retreat with Johnny Gillespie. It's called The Way of the Empowered Man, and I'm sitting with my good friend, Larry Milburn.
Hello, Derek. How are you?
Larry, I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty tired.
I'm pretty tired as well. I too just did Johnny's Way of the Empowered Man retreat here at Kripalu.
Yep.
And we are tired, a little spacey. We're in retreat mode, and we're sitting in a cinder block room that's very hot.
I know. Apparently, they said this was the technical
room.
He
said this was the tech room.
This is the tech room.
Where people come to get on their phones. I would not come here to get on my phone.
I don't think there's much oxygen left in this room.
There's not a lot of...
So, but a great retreat weekend. We got in here Friday night. 18 guys were in this retreat. Few of us knew Johnny. Some guys from Wilmington where Johnny teaches. But a lot of guys who are pretty new to yoga, which was kind of wild to see.
And this was, to be clear, this was the retreat that was supposed to happen in February.
Yes.
That you had done an episode with Johnny to talk about. I know you were talking about it on the show.
Yep.
Promoting it and whatnot, but it got postponed. So it finally happened now on one of the hottest weekends of the year. So I think the hottest weekend of the year so far.
I know it's the hottest weekend of the year because our HVAC system on the second floor crapped out as soon as I left the house.
Yeah.
Ironically, the retreat in February got canceled because there was a major freeze that weekend in New England, and the pipes burst at Kripalu. And I think they called Johnny like a week before this thing was supposed to happen and said, we've got like 10,000 gallons of water that's been flowing around the facility. So ironically, we've gone from cold to hot, and I'm glad I spent money for the annex because the annex has got AC. Larry, you did not go. You did not go for the full living suite, did you?
No, that's right. So for those of you that don't know, here at Kripalu, there are different levels of accommodations you can choose, and then that determines what your overall price for the weekend is. And I went with the Spartan type of living in a dormitory room that was really hot when I got here with a bathroom down the hall. It was fine. It was great. I've stayed in the annex. It's beautiful. Yeah. You splurged.
I was in the Astor Suite.
It was quite
nice.
Some miles off of it.
It was quite nice.
Great time though this weekend.
Yeah, it was really good. I tell you, I was blown away by just the great turnout and blown away by some of the great techniques that Johnny was teaching around core activation and breath work, as he calls the ha breath. And I have not done that much core in a long time.
Yeah, it was a lot of core.
But anyhow, awesome weekend. Johnny's going to be doing it again, actually this February. So more to come on that. We'll certainly have Johnny back on this podcast again more than once, but definitely to talk about that retreat and his plans. And also just his reaction to how this one went. I think Johnny was pretty blown away by the turnout and the participation and the sharing that happened.
And we met some good potential guests for the show.
We totally did.
Right?
Some really great guys, really solid guys. Also, we're here because I have some news to share. My wife and I just had our first baby about a month ago. So it's taken my focus off the podcast for the last, I would say at least 2 months, even leading up to the arrival of our daughter. And so I'm handing the podcast over to Larry for the summer. I'm taking the summer off. Larry, I'm handing it to you, and you're going to be running the show. How do you feel about that?
I accept the reins. I thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah.
And I hope your listeners enjoy what's about to come. I've got a few potential episodes lined up. We're just getting schedules worked out, but we've got several different types of people from different walks of life, which is going to be kind of cool to share, all obviously yoga centric. And then I think you and I are already talking about some ideas for the fall and how to team up on some things.
Yep.
And so I think it's going to be good. It's going to be a nice summer. It's going to be nice for me, frankly, to get back into the regular podcast swing. For those of you that listen to my episode with Derek, you may have heard I had a podcast for 7 years about the music industry that has kind of been shelved for now because I teach a lot and my job and being a dad myself and all that kind of stuff. So this will be a nice way to tag team with somebody else and get back into the podcast mix. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm psyched to have you on. Obviously, you're very passionate about yoga yourself. You've been doing it for years. You've been teaching for years. You've just launched Yoga for Dudes, an online resource for yoga classes.
Yep. Have a look, yogafordudes.com.
Check it out. And I think what also was great about this weekend was just how timely it is doing this men's yoga retreat for Johnny. And this was Johnny's first men's yoga retreat. And I think it was a it went incredibly well for doing a first time retreat for this group. And I was blown away by just the openness of a lot of the folks here. I would not have expected so many guys who hadn't done yoga before or done it much to commit to doing this trip and this retreat, which pretty much basically speaks to the feeling that there are more guys out there who want to get into yoga, who are doing yoga, and more guys can follow that lead and get into this stuff.
Yeah, I think as you said at the beginning, right, there was sort of half and half the room knew Johnny, half did not. Half had no idea, never done any yoga. They just saw this thing, or their wife or partner, whoever, suggested they come here and try something, and they came into this thing. And I said a few times to you, like, if that was me, if I'd never done this and I dropped into Johnny's thing, I'd have been like, wow, this is crazy. Because even for me, who's done it for a long time, there was a lot of crazy stuff. But I thought it was great that they hung with it. And we did a men's circle the second night.
Yep.
And there was a lot of great and unexpected sharing that happened there.
Yeah.
And, to be clear too, I think one of the barriers, you and I talk about this a lot with why we want to get guys interested in yoga and involved. And one of the barriers that we find is like they're worried there's going to be too much frou-frou or woo-woo, frou-free woo-woo.
Right.
And I'm certainly trying to take that out of my yoga for dudes thing to make yoga more successful and approachable. And you're doing that with the podcast.
Yeah.
And Johnny did that this weekend.
Yeah.
I think he spoke in some very plain terms and some very plain ways and direct ways about what this is and what it can be for you.
Yeah.
And I think that was good and palpable for the guys who had no experience to be able to go, oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. I can approach that a little bit more than if someone came in and started talking about the bandhas and the
Bhagavad Gita.
Which,
by the way, there was still a philosophical element to Johnny's discussion and Johnny's lecture and the discussions. And we're certainly advocates of people exploring that stuff as well.
Most definitely.
If the curiosity leads you that way, that's great.
Yep.
But I definitely feel like Johnny is, with his kinesiology and fitness and training background on top of his yoga experience, he's really solid on learning how to give you a workout and to get certain muscles firing that probably ones that aren't moving as much for guys in our age group. So I thought it was great.
And what he did do, I'll just leave it with this in terms of the weekend. What he did do, I know we've talked about this, that was great, was the very first thing he did was to make us do stuff within our body so that we could feel the thing within our body.
Feel the feel, right.
Feel the feel, not get all heady with explanations and things. And we're like, well, question, like as soon as you can feel it in your body.
Yeah.
Then you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you're hooked, right?
And just enough cueing to keep you coming back to what you should be listening to and paying attention to.
That's right.
So it was great. Listen, like I said, Johnny will be doing this again in February. We're going to have him on again, probably, end of this year, sort of the fourth quarter. We'll come in and probably have him talk about his plans for the retreat. And then this fall, we're going to be bringing in video now for the podcast. It's something that's been on my list of things to do. So that'll be launching probably in September. More to come on that stuff. But, the intent here is to bring more episodes, more timely basis, bring in video, more short form stuff. Larry and I have a bunch of different programming ideas we want to bring in as well to really sort of expand the value and the possibilities for the ways yoga can make a difference for guys. So anyhow, I want to thank everyone for being patient the last couple of months. There's been some gaps in episodes. A reminder to go check out GTY Podcast. The website was just redone by a very good friend of mine. Shannon had basically redone the entire website. And it's really meant to be more of a resource for guys looking for teachers, studios, recommended books, recommended gear. And like I said, it's really a resource to kind of get you finding things and hopefully shortening the lag and the timeline for you on how to ramp up and learn, how to start a practice, how to stick with a practice, where to go to learn more about yoga, either the philosophical or the physical aspect. So, and more will come to that website as well. So that's it. So Larry, thank you for covering for the summer.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
And look forward to picking this up again in the fall with you. And
sounds good.
All of you listening as well. Have a great summer and we'll talk soon.